Number 1. It was my first time staying home alone while my whole family was out at my brother's ball game. I was around 13. I'm on the phone with a friend of mine, feeling so grown up, when someone beeps me in on the other line. I tell her I'll be right back and click over lines. Then the creepiest voice I have ever heard says,
"Hello, little girl. I'm the man in your basement."
Honestly, I laughed it off and just hung up thinking it was a prank call. I was a pretty confident little thing, and my neighborhood was pretty safe, so I figured someone was just messing with me, knowing it was my first time alone. They beeped in again, so I clicked over and heard,
"Don't you fucking hang up on me, you little bitch."
And the lights started flickering, and there was banging under my feet. I know it sounds crazy, but my dog started freaking out and my cat ran away, so I assure you, I wasn't imagining a thing. Our basement was actually just an area connected to the garage. It wasn't finished. I heard what sounded like footsteps coming up the garage steps to get into our kitchen, and I threw stuff in front of the door and hearing yelling and whatnot. I kept trying to hang up and call the cops, but every time I tried to, he was still on the phone. My friend told her parents what was happening and they ran to the neighbor's house to call the police to protect me. I sat petrified with a broken rifle, a butcher knife, and a baseball bat behind my front door because it's the only place in the house downstairs that couldn't be seen from hear a police dispatcher on the phone and stayed on the line with her until the police got to my house. There was no sign of forced entry, though we had a broken window pane on our outside garage door that had been messed up for a few months prior, and my guess is he used that to get in. The police assumed I was just a paranoid girl, and they were going to leave me home alone after they gave an all clear. Fortunately, a family friend had been driving by and saw the cops there and stopped to see if everything was okay. He gave me a ride to the school where my family was. They were skeptical that anything had happened, but we did get a security system not too much longer after that. And my parents both got cell phones too. This was like '94, so cell phones weren't even a popular thing yet. After that happened, I swear there was someone stalking me for years. I would leave my apartment locked and bolted and come back to find appliances on, hair dryers, stoves, heat on in the middle of the summer. I lived in 4 different places and would get strange phone calls from everyone despite being unlisted. Cars would randomly be parked down the road from my house and speed up and slam on the brakes as I would run inside. I'd hear loud bangs outside when I lived out in the country. Nothing has happened since I've been in my current house and married, but I am still super paranoid all the time. Number 2. I was about 14 to 15 years old and living in my parents' mobile home in Southern California. We lived in a quiet beach town where everybody knew each other and nothing bad ever happened. Anyway, it was a school night, about 11 p.m., so I was laying in bed waiting to fall asleep. In those days I had a loft bed, which looks like a bunk bed, except instead of a bottom bunk, there was a desk which had my computer and TV and other crap on it. It was getting close to summer, so I had my window open to let in the cool air. I was just about to fall asleep when my screen fell off my windowsill and crashed onto my bedroom floor. Now this still isn't a strange occurrence, because I would often come home and leave through my bedroom window, so the screen did not perfectly fit into place due to me taking it out so regularly. So it would periodically fall off, but it did startle me and got my blood flowing. So I rolled over in bed and looked up at the ceiling and thought I would just put it back in the morning. Then, the pungent, sickly, sweet odor wafted up into my face. I couldn't exactly put my finger on what the smell was, but I thought it was very strange, and I should maybe check it out. But slowly, because I was tired, and it was most likely a raccoon that had died under the house. It wouldn't be the first time. So I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes, sat up in bed, and let my legs hang off the side. My heart jumped into my throat as I saw a large tattooed arm reach through my window and feel around on the floor in my bedroom. The guy grabbed the screen and slowly, quietly pulled out the window. At this point, I was freaked the fuck out, and my adrenaline had kicked in at levels my prepubescent body had never before experienced. My eyes started to water, I stopped breathing, and time stopped. I thought it could have been some crazy crackhead coming to kill us and steal our valuables. Seconds ticked by and I sat there in my bed, not 2 feet above the window. The arm had just shot through. I thought maybe he will just go away, but of course he didn't. To my horror, I watched as the man's arm grabbed my window frame once again, then pulled himself up slowly, and a leg crept through next. It was silent, and had I been asleep, this mountain of a man would have come into my room without a sound, and we never would have even knew he was there. Thankfully, I wasn't asleep. I grabbed the Bowie knife I kept under my pillow, and I yelled at the top of my lungs, "I have a knife, get the hell out of my room." And before the guy could completely pull himself up into my room from outside, I scared him. He lost his footing and fell backwards out my window and into rosemary bushes outside, cussing and spitting. I remembered yelling out for my dad, saying something along the lines of, "Dad, somebody's breaking in." And he was at my bedside faster than I could get the words out. He was looking out the window when he told me to stay there. He jumped out the window after the smelly fucking ogre. He never did find that guy, but police came and looked, and eventually they decided it was a drunk homeless guy who was desperate and looking for a place to sleep, and maybe some free food and stuff to pawn. So we locked up the house, fixed my window, and went back to bed a couple hours later. I didn't sleep that night. That was an incredibly traumatic experience for me, being that I was essentially the person who had to confront a home invader. But that isn't even the scary part. What's truly horrifying is a couple days later, we found a makeshift home underneath our house with a sleeping bag, water, extra clothes, and a large hatchet. This guy had been living underneath our house for God knows how long, without anybody knowing he was there. I believe he chose to come in through my window because it was the only room in the house that was open to the outside, that you could not see a sleeping person unless you were standing in the room. Because the loft bed made it look like it was only a desk from the outside. And I still think to this day, the dude had planned on robbing us, cased the house, and chose my room as his entry point because he could get in quietly, so he wouldn't wake anybody up. He then built his home under our house and waited for his opportunity. Then, when I left my window open, he decided to strike. I've had tons of crazy shit happen to me in my life, but that series of events that unfolded was easily one of the most fucked up things that's ever happened to me, and it really opened my eyes to the fact that crazy fucked up things happen to normal people, and you should always hope for the best, but plan for the worst.